Hey, this is Brandon McManus, Denver Broncos Super Bowl champion, and you're listening to The Scoop on alscoop.com.
Everybody, welcome back to The Scoop. This is Season 4, Episode 42. I'm John DeCarlo, joined by Kyle Gauss.
Season finale, boys.
And Matt gets
I don't know if that's official. We haven't decided.
Gets that out of. We have
Somebody's going to ask us a question about during the mailbag.
Can I mention Matt's name before you? I didn't even
I already talked.
Matt Venner, ladies and gentlemen. You are that important. Kyle just wants to get the F out of town.
I'm going anywhere.
I'm for maybe at least doing one episode in July, one episode in August to lead us in. You want to...
We can cross that bridge when we get to it, but as of right now, May 29th, in the year of our Lord 2019, season finale, boys.
I am going to Italy for a couple weeks after that.
Yeah. Well.
So you're gonna come back with like driving like a small car and like wearing leather shoes.
What would we do if like something like really big happened? I can't imagine this happening.
I mean, Matt and I are gonna be covering camps and stuff with you. I'm sure they haven't talked to Matt, but I'm assuming Matt's gonna cover some camps.
What if you guys are like emergency pod and we like do something from the Amalfi Coast and I put someone else on in my place and it's this Italian guy and he's like really engaging. You're like. We hate to break this to you, but we like that guy better than you.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that's a reasonable possibility. I think the more realistic possibility is Matt and I just have like a coup, and like we just overthrow you.
He always says that.
Yeah, it's a coup. Violent, non-violent, that's up to you. But like one way or the other, it'll be KyleandMattScoop.org.
I don't know, man. What else?
We got very special guests today.
What else is going on?
Nothing. Temple Football just got a new commit.
They did. Temple Football got a new commit. We have, of course, our Aaron McKie interview to play for you guys.
Which we'll get to. Like, people might not know that you didn't tease.
Put it out. Yes, we did. Put it out on Twitter.
Sure,
put it out
what
on
if there's a guy
boards.
that only has like 56K modem and he only he uses his data every year to download
Someone
our podcast.
Picks up the line at home and he's like, "Damn it, I lost my connection." Is it you guys get that reference, right? Or were you too young for that?
Yes, I get that reference. He definitely does not.
I get the reference. I think
be like on the internet, like, damn it, Mom, you picked up the phone. I was on the internet.
Yeah, we had that in the beginning, and then we got a separate phone number for the internet, and then it wasn't even cable back then. It was
you were on the
DSL
internet a lot when you guys moved to Indiana.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of data spikes after like 9:30 at night.
Oh God. I didn't think you were actually going to go with that, but...
Nothing. Who do I have to impress? Mailing it in.
Anyway. So, Matt, say something. I need to compose myself for a second.
Didn't see that one.
Was it T1? Was that the thing? There was DSL, there was T1. Like, the different types of cable, of internet.
I don't know.
I had dial-up as a kid, like, because I was born in 1997. I wasn't born in the 2000s. So, like, when I was a little kid, yeah, we had dial-up.
What were you doing on the internet as a little kid?
I mean, I didn't use it, really, but...
It's like a little, 2-year-old prodigy, just
learning how to program in C++. Like, what was he doing at that time?
In 1997... the internet was still not that far advanced. We were so excited in the mid 90s, excited to get email in college.
Oh yeah, and now it's just I get 400 emails a day, and one of them's relevant.
Wish I didn't have it. Anyway, Aaron McKie with us on the Scoop this week. Graham and I went over to interview him. We're recording this on a Wednesday. Went over to talk to him earlier today, and as Kyle alluded to, we've got some football news to get to. Some new offers went out. They do have a new commitment in James Della Pesca from North Jersey. We'll get to that in a second. Got some more recruiting news for you for basketball as well. Let's talk about this Aaron McKie interview. We were able to talk to him for about 45 minutes today. Got some reader mailbag questions in. This was our first chance to really sit down and talk to him and ask him some more involved and extended questions about the guys that he's brought in. Josh Pierre-Louis, talked more about Damian Dunn, talked about some guys on the current roster, and then talked about how he filled out his staff as well. So we'll play this interview for you and react to it on the other side. All right, Aaron, thanks for joining us today and taking some time with us. It's been almost, I think we're coming up on 2 full months that you've officially been the head coach.
I mean, you've done a lot of things, but in that span, you've done at least two big things. You nailed the press conference right away, and then you upgraded the talent on the roster right away, too. I wanted to ask you about the press conference. Obviously, we talked to you that day, but you've had a career that's just been about these big moments, high school, college, NBA, and you could tell that day, for some coaches, it's like, yeah, it's a press conference. For you, it seemed like a lot more than that. It was emotional. I mean, you had so many big people around you. What was it like taking a fan through, like preparing for that, like the night before or whatever? How did you know what you were going to say, and what was that like when you look back at it now?
I was an emotional wreck leading up to that point. I had a lot of different things that I wanted to say, and I guess I could say I just got caught up into the theatrics of a press conference with my mindset leading to that. And then the night before, I just said, scrap it. Because I have a story that's unlike probably any coach that would have a press conference for a college head coaching job. And my story was I pretty much grew up in that gym, and it was authentic. And that's how I try to be all the time. And any message that I'm trying to deliver. And so, I just said scrap it. It was a few things that I wrote down the night before, and I just went from my gut and my heart, and I kept some notes that I wanted to try to stay on track with. And I guess it worked. People say you nailed the press conference, and it wasn't like I was just going in there and trying to get likes from people. I was just speaking from my heart about an institution and a university and people around that surround this university that I care about.
One of the things, just to follow up, afterwards when we had the breakout session, and I remember you saying, like, listen, I didn't want to, play it up and act like it was a facade, but I am serious about, we want to win a national championship here, and I'm obviously here to develop young men, but I want to win a national championship. And it seemed like the fan base really responded well to that, because obviously everybody's wanted, Coach Chaney wanted to win, Dunph wanted to win, but it seemed like there was just like a little extra juice, like the fan base has been saying, like, hey, we shouldn't have to apologize for, we got this beautiful arena, beautiful facility, and that seemed authentic too. Do you feel like that kind of resonated with the fan base when you said that? I know it's not that you came in and said, we're winning a national championship next year, but it seemed like it was something that people wanted to hear and it resonated.
I didn't want to come in an arrogant way in saying it, because when you don't deliver, now they're looking at you like, well, you said you was coming in. Oh, that's the goal for me, to try to win a championship. And the reason why I feel like it could be done is just based on my career and my life. High school, I wasn't the top, high school basketball player. I was okay. I thought I was pretty good. Ended up, getting a scholarship coming to Temple, which was pretty cool. Things worked out. In college, I was a pretty good basketball player. One of the elites, right? One of the elites in the country as a collegiate basketball player. And in the pros, I was just, a good basketball player that was able to help out, help with some teams. I won the NBA All-Star, anything like that. And throughout the process of high school, college, and pro, you have your naysayers. And constantly throughout my life, I'm proving people wrong. So why not in this case? Why not in this situation? I love to get in, and I love to work, and I got to surround myself with guys who like to work as well, and we'll try to figure out a way. I don't think it's any exact science or blueprint as to how to win a national title. You have some coaches that's done it with offense. You have some coaches that's done it with defense, and I got to try to figure out my way.
Now, as for upgrading the talent on the roster, Josh Perry committed a few days before you were introduced. How important was it to make a statement by getting a big recruiting splash like that, and what can he bring to the program as well?
I think a statement will be made as time goes on, when guys are developing and they're getting better and they're contributing. You don't want to just kind of get caught into the numbers game of recruiting. I got a top 25, I got a top 50. If it's the true number, like, we never know. You got a lot of different publications that's ranking these kids. We want kids that fit into our culture, kids that want to play hard, kids that want to defend at a high level, versatile kids that want to, excel in the classroom. That's what we want. And who was saying? Michigan. I was listening to something about Beeline and with him taking the job over Cleveland, about how he's been in national title games without McDonald's All-American. So there are a number of different ways that success can happen. So I don't want to get caught up into the masses and what everybody else is doing. I certainly would like to be in the conversation to, recruiting the top level talent. And it takes time, and I have to establish myself as a coach, and, people are watching and kids are watching. And so, I want to be successful from that standpoint.
And with Josh specifically, what have you kind of seen from him? How do you think he can help the team right away?
I like his energy. I like his explosion, and there's some things we're going to have to work on with him. He's going to be a freshman coming in, but I'm going to place demands on all of our guys that come in. No more, do you have the luxury of being able to tell kids when they come in as a freshman, well, you're not going to be playing, much this year. This is a year for you to sit down and learn and watch and learn from experienced guys. I'm a firm believer that if a guy's talented enough and skilled enough, that freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, you're going to get out there on the floor and you're going to play, because you want to play the guys, the best 5 guys that give you the best opportunity to win basketball games.
Tell us how things came together with Ty Strickland. I think when Matt Vender from our staff had talked to him, he obviously talked a lot about what his father said about you and you guys playing together. So I'm sure that had to mean a lot, and there's impact there. What did it mean to just kind of have that reach with him, and then specifically about Ty? What do you think he could contribute to the team?
Relationships are important. Ty brings a lot to the table. I think his mindset is terrific. He's a wonderful kid. You guys get a chance to meet him and just watch him from afar. I mean, you'll be close, but when I say afar, just watch how he go about his business. He comes from a great foundation with his mom and dad, and he has brothers and sisters that's into sports, and they're a sports household. But his leadership ability, his toughness, and the kid said to me, he just want a chance. Coach, you don't owe me anything. I just want to get out here and I want to prove myself, because he feel like he has something to prove. And you love to have kids like that. That was me. I wanted to prove myself. Forget about this McDonald's All-American I got to go up against. Forget about this top 50 guy I got to go up against. I want to go nose to nose with this guy and, may the best man win. And a lot of times in this recruiting era that I'm in now, you have a lot of entitled kids that want you to hand them things. Like, the first thing is, how many minutes of I'll be playing, and, and it's not earned. They don't take into account that there are veteran guys or guys with a little bit more experience than them that's already been playing on the college level, has already been training on the college level, it's already been in classes and understand how the dynamics of college sports is. So those guys don't understand that, and Todd's been fortunate enough to have a taste of it with going through a year at his former school. So I'm looking forward to what he can bring for us on and off the court. And I think his leadership ability is going to be paramount for us, because that's so important to having a really great team.
Now, you don't want to focus on numbers, but you did get a former top 150 recruit in Jake Forrester a couple of days later, legacy player as well. How did that develop with him? And same question, how do you think he can help the team as well?
It's been a relationship that I had with Jake for a while. His dad would always call me, hey man, you got to go see my son. And I watched him play, I would follow him, and I said, this kid's going to be pretty good. He's really active and running the floor, good size to him. And he's another guy that felt like he was looked over and felt like he deserved an opportunity to play. And it helped him focus more on how can I be the best player that I can be without getting caught up into the numbers game. Because sometimes that can get in the way of these kids. They don't know any better. They feel like, once they put that number on them or that tag on them as a top level recruit, they feel like they arrived. And now he's a guy that's, again, is coming in and saying, hey, I want to contribute to making this school a national contender. I like his ability to get up and down the floor. He's a high level rebounder. He can play inside, he can play outside. So he provides some versatility for us inside. And the way the game is evolving, and I think the game is being passed down from the NBA level down through college. You're starting to see a lot of colleges emulate what they're doing in the NBA. So I want these guys to be able to do it from inside to outside, big guys. I don't want to just put them in a box. That's the way the game was played when I was growing up. If you were one of the bigger guys, you played inside. I was one of the bigger kids in high school, and And when I was smaller, so I learned how to play the game from inside out. And a lot of these kids are learning the game from outside in now. So which is cool, and I think Jake has that ability.
Just logistically, is there any, I might be up in there, are these guys both definitely sitting out a year, or is there a chance that they could get a waiver, or is that something that's kind of up in the air?
They'll be sitting out a year.
Okay.
Transfer, so.
One guy we haven't had the chance to ask you about in a while, a guy that you were obviously involved in recruiting before you officially became the head coach, is Damian Dunn. I think you told me about him before. You said he just reminds me of a Temple guard. And then he went and played for one of the top high school programs in the country, played some really good basketball down in Georgia. What are you excited about with him?
Everything. He's another wonderful kid that you enjoy talking to, just always smiling and enjoying. But he's a competitor. He's a competitor. He's a guy that he'll take a charge. He can defend. He has no problem, sitting down in the stands and defending the top player. And offensively, I think his skill set is college ready right now. I mean, he can score it off the bounce. He enjoys posting up. He doesn't mind giving up his body, getting to the free throw line. And I would tell him a lot of times we got to stop a lot of that acting that he's doing, blowing himself up. But that's cool because it's what they see. I always try to tell our guys the most important part of scoring is trying to get yourself to the free throw line. And sometimes it's a little acting that goes into that. Too much of it I think is not good. But I really like his ability out on the perimeter, and he could be a combo. I think he has the ability to play point. I think he has the mindset to play some point guard, but he also has the aggression to play out on the wing and score the ball for us. So I'm really excited about him. I love his size. He's 6'5", wing guard. He gives us good size out on the perimeter, and he's a high-level rebounder from the wing position.
So moving on to the staff, it seemed evident right away with you hitting the road together that you were going to keep Chris Clark. What was it about him that made you want to keep him?
I love Chris. He's a budding head coach. He's a basketball mind, really enjoys the game. He's passionate. He's an alum. And I just enjoy being around him and talking to him about the game of basketball. He brings so much to the table. He's very engaging, especially when he gets around the guys. He gives his heart and soul with the guys. And I get upset with him, not in a bad way, but, he has a family at home, and I can call him, and he's here, 7 in the evening, maybe talking to one of the guys or still here in the office, and I'm encouraging him to get home and be with your family, because family is important. But he also looks at this, as these guys in here, as a family too. And that's what I really, really love about him. Outside the X's and O's and what he brings to the table from that standpoint, he's going to be a head coach one day, and I'm thrilled to have him because he loves the game, and he's Temple made.
What about Monte Ross? And I guess you could probably say this for any of the guys. I'm sure you had, I don't know if pressure is the right word, but I'm sure everybody was chiming in. Aaron, you got to hire this guy. You got to hire this guy. There's the Temple people here. You probably had a lot of people coming at you and saying maybe this guy be a fit. All the assistant positions are important. You settle on Monte as your associate head coach, and then you look back into it, and there's a relationship there, and you guys have known each other for a long time. What was it about him where you kind of said this is he's going to be a perfect fit for the staff, and what's it like to be able to work with him now?
I wanted to get someone with head coaching experience, and it was just the stars aligned with that whole situation. Mm-hmm. And we pretty much grew up together. Mike spent just as much time in this building as I did. He grew up not too far from here. I know his family well.
His mom tutored you?
Yeah, his mom tutored me.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yep. I know his family well. And again, it's talking to Philadelphians, they understand it. Mm-hmm. But for us growing up here, we was always around one another. His mom was always in the gym at the Sunny Hill League games, so it was like family. And we spent a lot of time. When it was middle of the summer, it was really hot outside. This was the only place that had air conditioning. Yeah. So we'd come here and just watch games all day and all night, and we spent a lot of time with each other. Him being a head coach, we remained friends throughout, went in different directions, obviously. He went to Winston-Salem, and me going to Temple, and just his head coaching experience and just being around him and him being in the fire a little bit more than me can help. He could be a settling factor for me on the sideline with different things. And even leading up to now, haven't even coached a game or an official practice, And there are certain things that he'll put in my head that just kind of help me get through how to deal with situations. You find yourself after being here for 2 months, like you're dealing with so many other things outside of basketball. And then my mind is wired to I just want to coach. But it's so much more that's involved with being a college head coach, and having a former head coach on staff is so important and so vital to my growth.
Now, with Jimmy Fennerty, I'm guessing he probably made an impression on you when he was here as a grad assistant. What made him really the guy for the third and final bench spot?
His energy, his passion, being around him when he was a grad assistant here. We play pickup games, and he never backed down to me, He never backed down to me, and I like that about people, which says a lot about him. He comes from a basketball family. His dad was coach at Germantown Academy, and Jimmy's another one of those guys like Chris, who really loves the game, who's passionate about the game, who's a gym rat. These guys, he hangs in the gym all day, all night, and has fresh ideas. He has some experience of being out on the recruiting trail and understanding the NCAA rules and regulations, and with his experience with being at Lafayette. So he's like family. Didn't graduate from Temple as an undergrad or play here, but he's like family because he's been in this program and he know what it's about. He's been around me, understands me good, and he's someone that I can trust.
What about bringing Mark and Jason back? Obviously, they paid their dues with coaching too, and then spent some time away from the game to bring them back. Talk about just what they'll bring to the staff, what it means to have them working with you.
Experience, Mark, head coaching experience, just being in college, and legacy. Guy here is probably our best player to ever wear a jersey here, so that's important to me. He was a mentor for me for so long, from just being in high school and nurturing me through college, and again, that's important to me. And he's another guy that he pulls me to the side, from the start a couple of months ago to now, just planting different seeds in my head and helping me with my growth and things to watch out for, and just telling me to implement things the way I want to implement things. And he's very, very detail oriented, which I like. We'll be doing things with the guys out there, and he'll pull me to the side and say, "Hey man, make sure they're doing their footwork right. Make sure they're boxing out right. Make sure they're rebounding right. Make sure they're just little things like that we take for granted now in sports is especially with these guys now. I mean, pros can get away with certain things, but they're pros for a reason because they do all of the little things that lead up to that. And we want to make sure we don't skip any steps with our guys now. And Mark's very good at making me aware of different things that I'm doing out on the floor. And the same thing with Jason Ivey, who's a guy I played with. Jason, and trusted him out on the floor as a teammate. Was just a good kid when he came from Alabama, and just enjoyed being around him. He was an undersized big guy, but probably was our best rebounder. So it says a lot about his toughness and his IQ and his passion for the game. And he's another detail-oriented guy that when he's watching, he's saying, hey, these guys need to do this, these guys need to do that. So it's good to have guys in your program that's been around here and understand the culture, understand our culture extends outside of Temple, which is Philadelphia, who understands the Philadelphia culture. So it's good to have those guys around and their friends and their family.
I want to ask you about that too. Just follow up real quick. You guys, and it seems to be resonating well. You emphasize, and it seems to be authentic. You're talking about culture a lot, the culture and identity of the program. And again, it's not that previous coaches didn't have it here, but it's been a part of just what everybody's talking about, kind of like building a mission here. Is that something that's just kind of been organic for you, or did you say like, hey, man, this is something I really want to emphasize once I'm kind of the CEO of this whole thing?
It gives the players something to sink their teeth into. So if you walk past any of our players out on campus, or anybody walk past one of our players on campus and say, hey man, what are you guys about? Hey, we're all in. We're all in. We're built on hard work, we're built on toughness, we're built on commitment, and we're built on consistency. And they can repeat that to you. And I think that's what's the most important thing. Wins and losses would help that or would hurt it. Hey man, you said you was about this. Your team got out rebounded last night. You said your team was about this. They got outsmarted last night. that's what helps your culture. But if you start from the beginning and you say, hey, this is what we're about, the kids understand. They understand daily. When they come in this building and they come in this gym, or they're in study hall, they're in the classroom, this is what we're about. We're going to be the same way every day. We're going to work our tails off. We're going to try to out-tough people from the neck up. And it's going to be the same message all the time.
Now, I'm sure there's a lot of outside noise, a lot of pressure telling you, people telling you who they think you should hire. How are you able to kind of block that out and make the right hires for yourself?
I'm not big on public perception because it can sway either way. When you hear leaks and different things. I've been around professional sports and media for a while, and I'm not saying I'm the most savvy when it comes to that, but I learned a long time ago, just stay away from it. And I was able to formulate my own thoughts to how I wanted to go about it. I have three of the best men that you can have in just life and sports. I had a high school coach around me, Bill Ellaby, John Chaney, Fran Dunphy. I think doesn't get any more authentic than those guys. I think they're transparent. They'll tell you the truth. And so when I need a sounding board, I don't go to Twitter or Facebook or anything like that. I got some people that I feel like I can rely on and trust.
One of the guys I wanted to ask you about, too, is you guys seemed excited to hire Brady Welch, your new, your director of sports performance, but essentially with that, your new strength coach. And I've heard great things about him coming from my energy. It seemed like a home run hire. Was that an area for you where like that's an area that I'm really excited about? I wanted to make some developments there. Can you talk about him and what he's going to mean to the program, what he's done already?
Every coach that I sat with, during live period, recruiting period, even like the year before, will say, hey man, the best hire you're going to make is you got to get a strength and conditioning coach in that really gets it, understand. Strength and conditioning is so different from how I grew up lifting weights and when I was in college and even in the pros. It started to change a little bit on the back end of it, but it's strength and conditioning, it's nutrition, it's hydration, it's all of those things. And your strength coach is almost an extension of your staff in terms of basketball wise, because they have to implement things that go from the weight room that transitions to the basketball floor. And so he's been great with training the guys, and it's different, it's new, it's different, and we'll see as time goes on. But I really enjoy what he's doing. He's very engaging. The guys are enjoying him. Sometimes he's getting on them, and he just have fresh ideas with getting those guys stronger, bigger, stronger. He had an opportunity to watch us play throughout the year, and said, he thought there were some things he could do to help some of our guys, help their bodies, help their mobility and different things like that. But the most important thing is what they're putting into their mouths, in terms of the food that they're eating every day. And that's important because he's sitting with those guys for breakfast. He's sitting with those guys for lunch. He's sitting with those guys for dinner. And that's important to them because everything that we're doing the next 4 years of our kids' lives has to be a lifestyle for them. So when they leave Temple University, they understand how to eat. They understand how to take care of their bodies. They understand how to prepare a routine for the week, 2 weeks, a month. They understand all of those things, and they're ready for the next phase of their lives. And with Ad and Brady, it's very exciting, not only to us, but some of the other people that staff that had an opportunity to be around him. He's not only training the players, but he's training the coaches as well. We try to get in there and use him. He's a young guy. He's full of energy, and he's another guy that's a gym rat, hanging around here in the gym all day long. So when you surround yourself with people like that, you're destined for success.
Now, can you tell us about Aaron McKie in practice as the head coach now? Do you have any kind of sayings or something that you repeat, like John Chaney, excuse me, and like how have the guys responded so far to you as the practice head coach?
I can't evaluate myself yet because we're doing half hour, and it's really letting those guys off the hook. I want to see them after an hour and a half or 2 hours of practicing where their mindset is at then. And how can they take coaching? Because when you're fresh, if you're jogging, you're running, your thought process is great. But when you really get tired, are you still thinking the same? And that's when you learn what you got. players start to face some adversity, now how do you handle things? Do you handle it in a positive way, or do you go left? Do you go in the opposite direction? So that's what I'm anticipating and seeing once we start. We get everybody here on campus, and now I get a chance to understand who I am, because I still don't know. I haven't coached a college game yet, nor have I coached a full college practice yet. So there's some anxiety inside of me, and I'm I'm afraid of failure, but I want to do well. I want to perform well. I want to perform well for the kids. I don't want to have to, and I tell those guys, I don't want to have to come in here yelling and screaming all the time. Sometimes you need to do that with coaching, but I want you to come in and do your job every day so I can do my job. It'll allow me to do my job. So I'm curious to see how I'm going to respond to the guys. Now, I have to get on them at times, and I tell them this is not what I want to do. Don't give me the control. You stay in control of your destiny by working hard and communicating out here on the floor and doing all the things we ask you to do. And now you remove me from that situation. So we'll see once we start implementing offense and we start implementing defensive schemes, who can remember. And once again, when guys get tired, how do they respond to coaching?
And John Chaney, Larry Brown, Bill Arby, they all had famous mottos and sayings and stuff in practice. Do you have anything like that on the horizon, anything you're thinking of?
No, because you want to be authentic with it. I don't want to sit back and say, this is what I want to say to them. It'll naturally happen when you're practicing. You find yourself saying the same thing over and over and over again. So some of the things that they would say, I can't say here.
You've talked about, there's you can't play the matchup. We're not practicing at 5:30. Those parts of the game they've evolved. And you can't do it with recruits anymore and guys coming in. But one of the hallmarks of when you were here, you just hit on the mentality piece of things. And you guys didn't really show a lot of emotion. You were tough, and I think at one point I remember, I think at some point Coach Chaney said to you guys aren't going to get calls on the road. So it's like, I don't want to, even if you know a call is going against you, I don't want to hear it. You just get down the floor. Does that part of the game still resonate where you can tell the guys, like, maybe I don't necessarily want you to be emotionless, but it's just got to be that same mentality? Is that something you think you can bring back into today's game, to this program?
Well, you're better players, and I explain. I have a 12-year-old son that plays, and along with the players here, you think about the best players in the world, what they face with, not just with the crowd, but guys out on the floor. There's somebody saying something to them every play, and they stay like this. They stay locked in. Those are your most successful players or athletes, whether it's baseball, basketball. You're better players. You don't always see them doing it. Yeah, they get their moments where they have an emotional outburst. But your better players and your better teams, they stay locked into the moment at all times. And it helps you focus. You made a shot. There's no need to start doing this. Let's think about what we have to do back down here on the other end. Let's think about time and score. Those are the things I want the guys to get emotional about and talking about, making sure we block out, making sure we're passing the ball the proper way, making sure we're communicating. Those are the things I want you to be communicating with. If you have anything to say out on the floor, that's what I want you to be talking about.
Mm-hmm. Now, Quentin Rose declared for the NBA draft 2 years ago, essentially to get an NBA evaluation. You know what it takes to get to the NBA and stay there for 13 years. What do you think he has to do to kind of turn the corner and get to a better place than he was last season?
Continue to grow. I think the biggest responsibility and the biggest change for him is going to have to be his leadership ability. I'm expecting him to be one of our leaders this year. And he understands that. He understands that he has to grow a little bit and keep his focus at all times. Is he a natural-born leader? Probably not, but I think he can grow into one. I don't think Shiz Austin was a natural-born leader, but he evolved into that role, and we're going to need Q to, really help us out. He's one of the returning seniors that's probably played more minutes than just about anybody on our team, so we're going to need to lean on his experience and help some of our younger guys out.
And obviously it's still incredibly early, but have you seen any kind of signs that he's going to take a bigger leadership role? Have you seen any seeds of that?
He's been injured. It's hard to be the guy on the sideline while everybody is out there working to be the biggest voice in the gym. But it'll come. The guys respect him. And I'm looking forward to getting him back on the floor to see how that all all plays out. I have the utmost confidence in his ability to be able to lead along with my help, because for me to become a leader, I needed help. And so that's the one thing I think, if we give him more responsibility, I think that would help him as a player.
Tell us about Monty Scott. I mean, obviously, he sat out practice with you guys. We hear he can score a lot. He did it in high school, did it in his previous stop in college. Where's he in his development? I guess you guys know he can score, but tell us about people who haven't had a chance to see him before. What you've seen from him so far, and what do you think he could be?
He can score from anywhere on the floor. Really, really comfortable with just getting in there and making plays. He could comfortable with finishing in traffic. His in-between game, he can go and get a shot. He's elusive. He's one of those guys, when you look at him, you don't think he's that fast, but he's quick. He can get in and out of those gaps. And again, he's one of those guys I'm looking forward to seeing how, once we start practicing and we start playing, how does that all translate from your ability to score in high school, your ability to score at your former school? How does that all play into Temple University? So we certainly look to him as being one of the guys that could put the ball in the hole for us, which any team could use a score. He could shoot the ball, and we just got to get him better on the defensive end.
Now, is there anyone you've kind of seen turn the corner over the last couple months early in the offseason, or anyone that you're just particularly excited about seeing next season?
It's always been Nate. I mean, he's just a joy to coach and be around. He's a lightning rod. He's full of energy at all times, and again, he's one of those guys that we have to continue to grow and help him as a leader, help him see the game better. But in terms of competing and getting out there playing and doing those things, I love it. And I'm always pleased with how he go about it. I mean, we hear balls bouncing in the gym right now, and it could be him in the gym. He's always in the gym, and that's what I love. Guys that are just strictly about basketball, outside of the academic side. So he's been really good. There's a lot of other guys. JP has been really good and attentive and embracing leadership role. And so it's going to be interesting to see how it all unfolds. Once we get the other guys in, hopefully they raise the level of competition. And we'll see, because now you start putting everybody nose to nose, and then you're going to see who gets smoked out, who are the guys that rise to the top.
Tell us about Justin Hamilton. It seems like he's one of the more intriguing guys you guys have been able to bring into this program. He can step out and shoot, but then there were times last year where he kind of backed somebody down and then drop in a little hook shot. You're like, wow, I didn't know he had that. Yeah. What's possible for him, and what does he need to do this offseason?
He's a talented kid. And the biggest thing for him this offseason is strength and conditioning. And that's why our new strength coach, Brady Welsh, is so important to a lot of our guys. Justin has to get stronger up top. He has to get stronger down below. And I think when those things happen for him, he would have more confidence. Offensively, he's about as skilled as anybody that I've seen in college basketball. But when you're not willing to get in the mud and get hit and do all of those things, then it hurts you. And he's been in the weight room pumping that iron, getting a little bit bigger, getting a lot more confident. But we're talking about the offensive side of it. But in order for him to be on the floor consistently, he's going to have to rebound the ball better, be able to guard his position a little bit better, and I think that will come with strength and conditioning for him.
We've got a few reader mailbag questions for you. These are coming from screen names. Most of them are coming from screen names on our message board. So, first one is a couple questions from the screen names North Broad. What steps is the program taking to modernize itself since Aaron's taken over, and will we start to see a more concerted effort on marketing, social media, and branding? I know you've said before, you're not a huge social media guy, but it does seem like there's Aaron McKie content out there. People want to see the Iverson stuff or the stuff in the press conference, but it seems like that has been more of an effort. What's it like for you, maybe to kind of paraphrase that? You talked about the coaching piece of it. Are there things that you want to do as head coach that you'll do differently in terms of travel, or is it kind of just more the same?
In terms of travel?
Just anything. Even just off the court. Where the guys live?
Well, as college coaches, you try to be as visible as possible. There are a number of different things that it is that you're doing. You know, they got billboards up with, like, how much more content do you need? You know, I try to do some social media stuff, but I like to stay away from it because what good? People always talk about, hey, business is done. This happens with, you know, what good comes from that? You know, what I try to protect against is my players and my family. You know, and you know, with all of that being said, me being a new coach, I got to win basketball games. And when you win basketball, a lot of coaches, you don't see a lot of content of Coach K out there. You don't see a lot of content of you know, Jay Wright out there. Those guys just go out there and they win, and nobody really worry about, you know, what they're putting out in social media. So I don't want to turn into a gimmick guy because that's not who I am. I don't want to go outside of who I am. I try to give fan base and people that's involved with this program as much as I can, but I don't want to turn into a clown show.
Yeah. Next question's the screen name is Al Dumph. What is the status of Rashma Parks, and will he be ready for the season? We heard, I guess he was banged up. Can you say anything about how he's doing? Or
he's going to be out for a while, so he should be ready at the start of the season. And he's another guy that I want to evaluate. I think he really could bring something to the table for us. His physicality and his ability to get in there and rebound the ball. He's one of those kids who doesn't really mind throwing his body around. So I'm looking forward to, you know, to seeing that. He's a physical guy.
It looks like he's just a father. It looks like, I remember seeing a little bit in high school. It looks like he's cut some weight, but he also looks like, is he more just like a little bit more your traditional, just like be a little bit closer to the basket and, like you said, throw his weight around type of guy?
Yeah, he'll be one of those guys. But again, I don't want to put him in the box.
Right.
When we're doing some individual skill work, I want you to work on that with your back to the basket and facing up around the basket, but I also want to move them out. The more comfortable you get with playing with the ball and handling the ball, the more comfortable you'll be in your space around the basket. So I want all of those guys to feel comfortable with doing those things.
Next question, screen name's Hootie Hoot. And this new era of Temple basketball, what's one change you've seen in recruits and coaches? So I guess he's saying, I know you can't talk about specific guys that you're still recruiting, but I guess he's asking, like, what's kind of been the tone? Like, now that you're head coach and you're going out there and you're recruiting and you're hitting the road, what's kind of the reception that you've gotten out there, just being now kind of being the CEO of the program? What's the reception been like for you and the guys out on the road over the past couple months?
It's been good. And I think you'll know it's good when you start getting the guys that you really want, when you start seeing guys sign, and that's the indicator. We could talk about it. It's been great. The reception, the different people you talk, we interested in, we interested, and they round the bases with you, and then it's time to cross home, and then they go dark on you. So I think that would be a really good indicator, is when you're starting to sign guys that you really want. I mean, outside of that, everything it's been really good. I like to think I'm a knowledgeable guy when it comes to basketball. I've been around it all my life, played it at a high level. I coached in the NBA, now and I'm here coaching as a head coach in college basketball. So I'm still learning all of that and how to navigate my way through those things, and who's honest and who's dishonest, and you never know with this game.
Yeah. Next question comes from Berkshire Al. Who will be responsible for developing the big men? So I don't know if does it work that way anymore? Where is it just a global effort where everybody's coaching everybody, or is there a guy that is it different now? Where, like, in the past you might have had a big man coach, or what's your philosophy on that?
Everybody's going to coach everybody, but at the end of the day, I'll be designated to make sure guys get down there and they're tough, and you got to be, in order to play around the basket, you got to be physical.
Right.
And so we got to raise our level with physicality, and that's for everybody, guards included, guards, bigs, because when you look at the game now, all the guards want to play inside, and all the bigs want to step outside. And so really, even when you look at the landscape of college basketball, you only got one guy that's inside, and you got to identify that one guy who's willing to put his mouthpiece in there and do the dirty work for 40 minutes, 35 minutes, whatever that number is. And then you're fine. He has to be able to make a layup, offensive rebound the ball, run the floor. That's the way the big man game is being played now. No longer do you see teams just coming down the floor and constantly giving you a steady diet of inside play.
Right.
You don't see it in the pros. I'm watching playoff games like, wow, they switch. Why would you roll this? It's just not how they play. But I definitely want to be able to take advantage of that and make sure our guys are getting our bigs are getting the proper training over the summer, where if teams are switching, once you roll to the basket and take advantage of your size.
Next question comes from the screen name's Magster. Penny Hardaway has done an impressive job attracting top talent to the AAC. What do you think he's done to garner attention from these high-level recruits, and do you think his success benefits the conference as a whole?
He asked about Penny Hardaway. No, he's Penny Hardaway. I mean, he has his own brand, sneakers, kids follow that stuff. Yeah. Honestly. He was a great professional player, great, his career got, cut short. And I think now it certainly could be a trickle-down effect, where a lot of these kids, because they pay attention to what everybody's doing, a lot of these kids see, man, they're going to Memphis. What conference is that? Oh, AAC. Who's in AAC? And now they really start to look at the teams. So they're going to be watching that closely. And they're going to really see how competitive our league is. I think our league is one of the tops. In top 5, bar none. You got a battle on your hands every night. You got some great coaches. You got some high-level talent of players. And what Penny is doing is really adding to our conference's growth. And that's important to getting players. Once we consistently get in a tournament and you're winning games, now the players start to see it a little bit different.
I can imagine it could be a fun thing too, because I remember before UMass got good with Calipari, people wouldn't have said around Philly, oh, Temple and UMass, they're going to be big rivals, and before you know it, it was a thing, and it was fun. And when they were here, the line was wrapped around McGonigal 3 times. And then you could be that, like, Temple's playing Memphis tonight, that's a big deal, we got to get down to Leah Core Center. Is that kind of, and not just them, you got Cincinnati, you got Wichita State, you got all these other programs. Does it have the potential to be something like that, where it's like you said, it's just add some extra juice to the league?
Yeah, that's the idea. And I think it's coming. I feel it's coming in our conference. You got a lot of high-level coaches that's doing some really good things with their program. With Penny having the top recruiting class really helps, because it's going to be a huge spotlight on our conference this year.
The final reader question we have is from Twitter, from the I Believe guy. What does Aaron plan to do differently than we've seen the past 12 years, and what will he do differently than what he learned under John Chaney?
I want to take pieces from all the coaches that I played under, coached with, whatever. You trying to figure it out. I have an idea of what I want to do, but we certainly going to play with pace. We want to get up and down, an exciting brand of basketball. We don't want to play a deliberate style. But there are times that will call for that. We want to play with pace. We want to space the floor, and I want to give guys freedom. And it goes back to me talking about big guys being able to play out on the perimeter, because that's what you're selling. The kids watch. They watch film. You sitting them down and say, hey, man, watch you play. I enjoy what you're doing with your big guys. I want to be a part of that. I want to be the next guy that can, run some screen and rolls and pick and pop. And if teams are switching on me, I know with my size I can post them up. So that's what you want to sell recruits. But at the same time, you're selling fan base, and everybody, I think now at least, when you talk about basketball, they love the exciting brand of basketball of getting up and down the floor.
Just a final question to close things out, just to follow up. And you've always been, ever since you came in, you were always very self-aware. I remember you coming in and saying, like, I don't expect to just go out on the road and say, like, and have people say, oh, I remember you. Some of these kids weren't even alive during that 2001 season. But now, you hear, even when we interview kids, it's like, oh, I know he was in the pros. And like you just saying now, like, hey, I watched film of you. What's it like? You have so much information coming at you from, again, all these people that you've learned from. You could choose from all these different styles. And now when you hear kids saying to you, I watched film of you, I knew you were in the league. What's that like to kind of have that wash over you now and say, oh, wow, now I'm in this chair, and now I have kids who do have their eye on me. Is that kind of a cool thing in this moment? Like I said, we're just been at so many moments and so many milestones for you. What's it like to have that piece of it? Because you're not an egotistical guy, and you don't go puffing your chest out. What's it like to have people say that to you now?
Well, it's funny. It's two things that happens. Like, when we're on the road, I'm not so on the road, if I'm meeting with a kid, a family, or a kid, and like a coach, it's like, you know who that is? He played with Iverson. You know what I mean? So it's always like that. And I stay relevant because of that, because most of the kids, they don't study the history of the game. You know how most of them know about me? Because they play PlayStation, 2K. I know who you are. It's not so much they follow basketball then, because some of them barely know who Michael Jordan is. They know because of the sneakers, but they never really watch the games. They know Penny because of the sneakers. They never really watched the games. Very few kids studied and watched film and watched different players because they're lucky in this era where they can punch in and they can just get a few clips, but they don't study. And they'll say, I know you from PlayStation, NBA 2K. Or if it's an adult, he played with Iverson, and I just, laugh. Which is cool because I don't like praise. I'm always uncomfortable with that. I'm just ordinary guy. You know what I mean? At least that's how I like to look at myself. An ordinary guy who wants to have an impact on kids, community, university, you name it, on down the line. That's how I like to look at myself.
Aaron, this has been a lot of fun. Thanks for spending some time with us.
I appreciate it.
All right, so there you have a pretty lengthy interview with Temple's new head basketball coach, Aaron McKie. Again, just excited to talk to him about, again, some of the new roster developments. What stood out to you guys about the conversation?
Well, I mean, the first thing I thought when he talked about Damian Dunn and just saying that he's college ready, I thought that was interesting because, and I mean, he didn't go as far as to say that about Josh Pierre-Louis, although I think, he said as far as any freshman go, whether you're freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, if you're good enough to play, you're going to play. He'll put the best 5 players on the floor. But, he really seems to be high on Damian Dunn, 6'5" guy who could, play some point guard, as Aaron said, and also, go out on the wing and shoot it and distribute the ball as well. So they seem really excited about him and his potential to play this year. I thought that was interesting how he brought that right up. It talked about Q a little bit and how he's not necessarily a natural born leader, but how he can grow into that, and how even Aaron had a little bit of that in himself, because Aaron's sometimes he's kind of a reserved guy in a way. So I think as he was a player, he grew into more of a leader, and Q's going to have to do that as well. So that's some of the stuff that I caught from Aaron's interview. Obviously, I wasn't there like John or Graham, but wish I could have been there.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of, when I asked him that question, he literally almost kind of like perked up. And I said, what are you excited about with him? He said, everything. Again, to some of the quotes in case you missed him, he's a competitor. He can take a charge. He'll defend. Offensively, his skill set is college ready right now. He could be a combo. Has the ability to play the point, has the mindset to play some point guard, but also the aggression to play out on the wing and score the ball for us, and he's a high-level rebounder from the wing position. So I remember talking to Chris Clark earlier this season and just chatting with him once, and he just said, we think he can play on the ball a little bit. So that's now the second person, obviously the head coach, and saying that he thinks he can be in that role, and he called him like a typical Temple guard. Kind of, I think we've talked about that before. He might remind some people of like someone like Marty Collins, where he's bigger, he can be smooth, he can rebound, do a little bit of everything. And then talking about Josh, he said, I like his energy, I like his explosion. There's some things we're going to have to work on with him, but obviously excited about him too.
Yeah, that stood out to me. The Monty Scott, you just continue to hear, and he said, look, he's comfortable scoring from every level of the floor. Seems like there's definitely still going to be a big role for him. I did find it interesting with the question asked about Penny Hardaway. Look, Penny Hardaway is taking recruiting to a new level in the American. How does that impact you? And it was kind of interesting just hearing somebody like Aaron, who has nothing to be ashamed of in his career. Look, he was 6th man of the year. He played in the NBA for more than a decade. Just even deferred to, he's Penny Hardaway, man. Like, he has his own shoes. Like, kids resonate with that. Some kids now don't even remember really who Michael Jordan was as a basketball player. They just recognize him as the brand now. So it kind of shed some light into maybe why that recruiting works with kids, that maybe that's another obstacle that Aaron's going to have to overcome.
Yeah, and again, I think people forget that, Penny had his own AAU team. And kind of, again, it seemed like he was eyeing up that job. I mean, he went for that Memphis job. He had his own team down there. Memphis basketball does have tradition going back to the 80s and the 90s. And
record book wise, they might not actually have tradition,
right,
as they did have to give up a Final Four.
Yeah. Coach Cal lives on in everyone's memory.
It would have been like in Philly if Team Final was Team McKie instead, basically.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And they have the ability to kind of like really get a stranglehold on basketball down there, and they do have a presence down there. They sell out their games. People come out for basketball in Memphis. They pack FedEx Forum to watch that team. So, but as Aaron said, it's good for the league. Like, I asked him, could it be another situation where it's, it's an event. Like Memphis is coming to town, similar to when UMass came to town. I guess, of course, this another thing that stood out to me. This could always change, but Aaron said that as of now, both Ty and Jake will be sitting out a year as transfers. So, it doesn't sound like he's pursuing waivers for them. Although, again, that could change, and he could be like, "Oh, well, yeah, we decided we wanted to look into it." But as of now, as of today, he said they're sitting out the year.
He said that, and I definitely tend, like, if I was a betting man, I would say that's the case. But I kind of come back to, like, when Rod Carey was asked about Harrison Hand. Like, you just keep assuming they're not going to be there until you hear if they're going to be there. Like, Harrison Hand might have the most legitimate reason of any NCAA person to get that waiver, and he might still not get it. So I think, especially with, like, Ty Strickland, like, you're transferring to another area. Like, it's not like you're going home. I feel like it'd be hard to get waivers for that.
So some recruiting news to pass along too. If you subscribe to Al Scoop and you're on our message boards, you know that, again, if you're listening to this on a Thursday morning, Temple will have an official visitor this week in Obina Anokili Keelan, who's a big man from West Virginia, 6'8", 180-pound forward out of Chapmanville High School, plays for an AAU team out of Pittsburgh, has Penn State, USF, Rhode Island, VCU offers. A source I spoke with said the VCU, as of now, may be kind of in the lead for him. Maryland's been interested. West Virginia's been interested. Temple, I don't think, has formally offered him yet, but again, they have him in for an official visit. The guy that plays really hard, can rebound, decently skilled, would fill a role for Temple if they were to get him, and that they, they're looking for bigs, whether it's a guy who posts up or whether it's a guy who can really get out and run the floor. So he is visiting Temple from Thursday to Saturday this week. Again, Temple has 3 scholarships to give to the 2020 class. And again, if you've been just following our content on the site, Graham recently talked to Jaleel White and Tosh Thweet. And, I think fair to say that Temple's probably in the lead for Jaleel White. Now, Jaleel's going to be out the rest of the AAU season due to that torn meniscus. What'd you do? Take a bad chug?
Yeah, a little bit of bitterness in there.
Kyle has not one but 2 Monster Energy
I fall
drinks.
for this every time. I go down to the bookstore, I go to buy one, they go, "Oh, it's going to be $1.50 extra for another one." I go, "Fine." And I walk back to the little thing, I waddle on over, I grab another one, and I come back. And then I forget about the soda tax, and it ends up being like 2 for $6 instead of the 2 for $5.
You look like...
Also, this doesn't help that there's all those memes going around now about, like, what it's like to raise a Kyle, and, like, what Kyles do. And it's always, like, backwards hat, drinking Monster Energy drink.
What?
You're not on the same internet that I'm on, but there's a lot of memes out there lately about Kyles.
Really?
About them being, like, these
you know
douchey, like, surfer bros.
I haven't been on this side of the internet yet.
No. What is this, Reddit stuff?
No, this is, like, my dad's gotten to the point now where even he's seeing, like, the stuff. So, like, it means it's probably, like, pretty, like, old white people Twitter. But they're out there.
You look more like the guy who's just, like, about to graduate college, and Matt is, like, composed and has his water. You look like the guy who was out at the bar till 3 a.m. and needs 2 Monster Energy drinks.
Yeah, like, I just Googled Kyle memes, and there's 17 articles, 17 Kyle memes that'll inspire you to smash a can of Monster against your drink. It's like, nobody, and then kids named Kyle. It's just this guy drinking Monster Energy. Very true to form here. But I am
living up to the name.
Just habitually tired of this.
What are you? I mean, are you going to bed late or what? You just
I don't know, John. I don't know. I actually sleep a fair amount. I sleep like 9 hours a night, and I'm still.
You get 9 hours of sleep a night. You're 30 years old, and you need 2 Monster Energy drinks.
And I drink a cup of coffee in the morning, a cup of coffee in the afternoon, and now I'm a Monster Energy drink.
Something else.
Clean fuel right here.
He'd be like an old Chevy, just. Not passing inspection, just emissions. Just
look, if you drive under 5,000 miles a year, you don't need to do emissions in Pennsylvania. So try to keep things low.
Is this why you need the summer to recharge?
Exactly, so I can stay under 5,000. I'm gonna come back like Bucknell game. Oh boy, I'm throwing heat.
Anyway, what were we talking about? We're talking about Temple's recruiting, basketball recruiting. Jaleel White. Looks like Temple's in really good position for him. Again, as we reported before, he had that meniscus tear, so he's not going to be playing competitive basketball again until his high school season in late November with Wildwood Catholic. But it looks like Temple's in pretty good shape for him. Tosh Thweet said, told Graham, I still like Temple, but it sounds like he's keeping his options open. Wouldn't be totally opposed to leaving home. But I kind of got into this a little bit the other day on the message boards. If you have 3 scholarships to give, Jaleel White is the first guy you take, who's a 6'7" point guard potentially. Then it's a shooter. I know they'd really, really like to get a shooter, and then beyond that, it's either a big or best player available. So it could be in an interesting position where, I don't know, let's say you get, they still have an official visit, has not been completed yet. They've still got stuff in the works for Dominguez Stevens, again, a top 100 player at Woodrow Wilson High School, right, in D.C. You've got another, obviously you have Obina and Achille Killen coming in for an official visit. You have potentially, why am I drawing a blank on the kid from Georgia who's coming in? Brandon Wright?
Harris.
Brandon Harris potentially coming in. So, you wonder if Temple could be in a position where, they try to stack the cards in their favor. Let's say a couple months from now, you have Jaleel White committed. You have 2 more scholarships to give. Let's say you make some headway with Stevens or Harris or with this week's visitor and Obina, and you can go to Taj and midway or late in the summer and say, hey, listen, we like you a lot, but you got a couple weeks to make up your mind on this. And
blank or get off the pot time.
Yeah.
We don't curse on this podcast. Yeah, I think the interesting part is the
curses.
difference between, this recruiting cycle and class of 2016, for example, is kids can take official visits now in their junior year,
Sure.
and then it basically resets going into their senior year.
Right.
That's why you see kids like Brandon Harris. Not to say that he might not legitimately be interested in Temple, but that's how you get these kids on campus this early, is because they have to take these officials before their junior school year ends. Otherwise, it counts towards their senior 5.
And they also have an offer out to a top 150 center in Jonathan Aku down in Texas. He's got Georgetown, LSU, Miami offers. He's ranked 104th overall in the 2020 class. So some definite names to keep an eye on there. Again, I continue to hear. Jaleel flat out told Graham, he's like, Temple's pretty much at the top of my list right now. Another source I spoke with said that Jaleel and Taj could be looking to take an official visit at the same time. Another source I spoke with said that Jaleel could possibly, he didn't say this to Graham, could be possibly looking to commit on his official visit, but the school of thought seems to be there that Temple's getting a pretty good player in him if they get him. Again, he's going to be nursing the torn meniscus in his knee for the rest of the summer. It would have been interesting, as Ari said, to see if he would have blown up a little bit more had he played this summer.
Is that a blessing in disguise for Temple that he won't be out on the? Not that he's on the shoe circuit, but it could be a good thing if you keep him off the circuit.
I literally can't. It's a shit. We just talked to him last week, and I can't remember if we were talking to Ari about this on the record or off the record, where he said if he, let's say he were to play in the team thing coming up at Jefferson or Phil U, and if he's a 6'7", for his AAU team, he's not running the point. For Wildwood Catholic, he is running the point. Let's say he comes down the floor, hits a couple of threes. Sometimes Big East schools will be like, oh, hey, we like you. We're going to offer you. And then you're competing with them. Temple's been kind of on the ground floor with both Jaleel and Taj. Again, Jaleel seems more likely at this point, but I wouldn't count on Taj yet either.
Yeah, I guess to answer Matt's question, I think if you're a casual fan, part of you goes, part of me almost wants him to go hit those 3 so he gets Seton Hall and he gets Rutgers, and then you can say, well, I beat Seton Hall, I beat Rutgers, and the optics are better. But at the end of the day, the most important thing is getting the player that fits your system.
Yeah.
Regardless of how it looks on the outside.
And Aaron talked about that today.
Right,
he said he's not, he wants to go after the highly recruited guys. He said we're not afraid to go after them, but they really truly do not care about
right.
rankings.
So instead, you get a guy who might be under the radar, who has a lot of physical wing length with a developing 3-point shot might be a good thing that the Seton Halls of the world, the Rutgers of the world won't get an opportunity to offer him, and maybe you get with them early. Right.
It kind of reminds me almost, different sport, but Linwood Crump, he had to sit out his senior year, different circumstances, of course, but you have to sit out your senior year, and he ended up with Rutgers in the end, but didn't really have a whole lot of options besides Temple. Maybe his recruitment would have taken off a little bit, and you've seen a little bit what he can do already on the field, but I think it would be interesting if sure. he went out there this summer with the New Jersey Short Shots. He's not on the Nike shoe circuit or anything like that, but still, he'd get some exposure at some of these events this summer, and who knows where he'd be at if he were healthy all summer.
So we'll obviously throughout the summer keep you tuned in on any basketball recruiting developments, anything we hear as visits happen, anything else, any offers that go out. We mentioned at the beginning of the podcast that Temple landed its 6th football verbal commitment. This one comes from James Della Pesca. Again, he's from North Jersey, recruited by Gabe Infante. Interesting case in that he played, one game?
Yeah, like basically like 6 quarters worth, not consecutively. I think he actually missed a couple games, then came back, then got injured again after 6 quarters. Only played about 6 games for that, or 6 quarters for them up there. Only had 1 catch, 42 yards, and a touchdown. So it's funny when these things come in, just to kind of do it behind the curtain aspect of these. If a kid comes in, they commit to Temple, and they don't have a rating yet, John or I send their huddle film and their offers and their stats and the profile to a rival's official to assign them a ranking. And most of the time in these situations, you're sending game film. You're saying, hey, here's his junior year highlights. Here's his sophomore year highlights. With him, the huddle video for him is scrimmage stuff. It's preseason stuff. It's 7-on-7. I think from that you did see a tight end who is fairly athletic, had good hands, had the ability to almost play as a wide receiver, but they're really kind of trusting the tape on this one. They're trusting their own evaluations where he had no other offers. He's barely played high school football, played a lot of high school lacrosse. Good lacrosse player. I think his brother is actually a college lacrosse player. But yeah, kind of somebody who, regardless of what school is writing the check to Rod Carey, they're still just following the MAC method of identifying diamonds in the rough and hoping you can develop them.
Mm-hmm. And again, I don't know, did we talk about Jeremiah Nelson last week?
He came across the wire as we were wrapping up.
That's right, yeah. So
they confirmed that he's a walk-on right now.
Yeah, so Jeremiah Nelson, the Nassau Community College JUCO running back, is coming in as a preferred walk-on. But an interesting add at this juncture. Again, I think that's going to be the key position battle to follow heading into August, because different names have flashed. You know, if we had talked a few months ago, we were saying nobody's talking about Kyle Dobbins. Now his name has come up a little bit more. Is Jeremiah Nelson a guy that fights for some snaps in August?
I mean, maybe who was the name we kept hearing before Kyle Dobbins? Tavon Ruley, another walk-on junior college running back. So I don't think him being a preferred walk-on eliminates him from potentially having a role.
Some other offers and recruiting developments to pass along football-wise. Tyreek Austin Cave is the 14th ranked inside linebacker in the country. Camden High School released his top 9. He said in no particular order. His top 9 also includes West Virginia, Miami, Syracuse, Pitt, Rutgers. So Temple's got some competition there.
His top 9 does not include Baylor, but that's probably because his lead recruiter at Baylor is now on Temple's staff.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. His lead recruiter also happened to go to Camden High.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. Oh, Matt, what do you think about it? I mean, does Temple have a shot here, or is that too stiff competition to deal with?
I mean, I think right now that they have a fair shot. I think at the beginning, or probably at some point over the past few months, and things are going to continue to drag out here. But I mean, I think they're going to get a couple of those big names from South Jersey. Who that is and how that shakes out, I think it's going to have to continue to play out with the rest of the recruiting process, and see which schools on Tyreek Austin Cave's list stay in on him for these next few months, and there's other guys as well. But yeah, I mean, I think that they have a fair shot at him right now. Obviously Fran Brown went to Camden High, has a really good relationship with their head coach Dwayne Savage, and was a really good quarterback at the High himself. Only I guess a decade ago or so. So, I think as long as Fran's here, they have a fair shot at a kid from Camden. But Miami, Syracuse, Pitt, Rutgers. I mean, he has pretty much all the schools that recruit this Northeast area. So he's going to have options. But I mean, I think you'll see him take an official to Temple at least, and I think Temple will remain in the mix for these next few months until his recruitment ends at some point.
Some other offers went out. Again, these are 2020 offers to several running backs recently. Jamon Wilson, a running back from West Forsyth High School in North Carolina, has picked up a Temple offer in the last week. Javon Swinton, a 3-star running back from North Stafford High School in Virginia. He has offers listed that include Virginia, Wake Forest, South Carolina, Indiana. He's listed around 6'1", 160. A couple of these other guys are a little bit smaller in the 5'9", 5'8" range. Jacob Saffold, another 3-star back from Norfolk Academy. Keaton Mitchell, an all-purpose back at Eagles Landing Christian in Georgia, has Temple. Nebraska, West Virginia. So, again, at least judging by the offers that these kids are tweeting out, looks like it's a position that they are prioritizing for the 2020 class. And and Isaiah Potts, now defensive tackle from Pine Forest High School in Fayetteville, North Carolina, also picked up a Temple offer.
The more interesting part to me from this, other than the fact there's a lot of running backs, is I think some people might have thought that since Jeff Collins is gone, all of a sudden you stop recruiting South Carolina, Georgia, maybe those are states. But no, I mean, I think the university itself has made inroads in that areas, and the current staff has some connections on there that you'll keep seeing. You can cherry pick guys in North Carolina or South Carolina or Georgia that you think's a good fit, and you can hop on a Southwest flight to Atlanta for like $180. So it's an area that you can still pretty easily recruit.
Yeah, and Matthew Duncan, the quarterback commit, he's from North Carolina, so they've already got
North or South. I think South Carolina. So I think it's South, but I think they have three. They're going to have 3 quarterbacks from South Carolina.
Talking a North Carolina kid? I don't know.
I could be wrong. Let's find out. Matthew Duncan is from South Carolina.
Oh, that was my bad.
Summerville, South Carolina. So it'll be him, Trev Betty,
That's the
and
monster
Kanique.
talk.
Well, is Kanique from North Carolina?
He is from North Carolina.
Yeah, so-
Kanique Bonner Stewart's from closer to, actually, like near
Charlotte.
Fayetteville, I think. So from is it Ho High School or something like that. Yeah, so that's closer to Fayetteville. But yeah, it's a great point. They're not. Again, I'm sure they would like to say, hey, we're going to recruit locally in the tri-state area, but they have tried to keep that footprint in there. They did also offer not a running back, Najee Logan, a linebacker from Hatboro Horsham, picked up a Temple offer today. Again, we're talking about this on Wednesday. So, and then the camps will pick up next
14th.
month. They're on a comprised.
Crush them into a week.
Yeah. June 14th to 22nd.
I'm sorry.
First one I think is like a Friday night lights camp.
Yeah, I think they have 2 Friday Night Lights camps.
June 14th is?
Yeah. Do I know what it is?
Yeah,
It's your birthday.
it is. Flag Day. I'm gonna be in Rome. I'll still expect presents.
You'll be missed.
Kyle, you say you'll be missed. Kyle's like,
scared
I say something nice. I can't get to it. And we have some other mailbag questions to get to. Again, we were able to get some mailbag questions to Aaron during that interview. But we have about 6 or 7 here that are non-Aaron McKie related. First one here from B.A. Carlson 21. The message boards is right in Kyle's wheelhouse. Talking about his favorite subject, getting some time off here. When is Kyle finally going to get his summer break so we don't have to listen to him whine anymore? Just kidding, kind of, Kyle.
Look, that's fair. I get it. I'm a very goal-oriented person. My goal has been to get this summer break. It's happening in about 25 minutes. I still have like my real job, and Matt and I still have to cover recruiting camps. I just don't want to come in every Wednesday night and do a podcast. Here we
Probably
are.
some recruiting camps when I get back.
Yeah.
I'll do a podcast.
We'll see you in
if
July.
The people want it.
Fine, I'll concede that. We'll give you like a one-off. I think last year we did a recruiting special where we just recapped because they got like the July 4th outburst where they had however many kids.
You won't see that because you won't see any scripted recruiting waves.
Right. Yeah. They won't take a couple kids just so they could say they got 7 or whatever on that day.
How many of those kids ended up signing? You had Youngblood committed that day. Jamal Speaks committed that day. So that's 2 right there. That
Salem
didn't.
Wood didn't make it. Who did they keep? Didn't Kelvin Dean was supposed to decide he didn't want to.
Right.
Then
and they
committed
pushed
in
it back.
August and then didn't come.
He was an owl. He's an owl.
He was 110% committed. Yeah.
Not like July 4th fireworks were duds.
No. But I don't think you'll see. We'll give you one in July.
What if this is like the Seinfeld episode where like Kramer goes out and gets like the Merv Griffin set, and he's like super excited about it, and I come in July and you're like you have the entire set, and we're like people can't see that, and you're like, oh wow, you don't care.
To be honest, I was reading something on our message boards, and I came back in towards the end of your scenario, so I just figured.
He's just openly now, like we'll say, like I wasn't listening. He's like Ron Burgundy and Anchor. Ron, were you listening? No.
I'm waiting until I'm like old enough that like hearing is a legitimate issue for me, so that way I can just be like, oh, sorry. Like,
You should get a fake hearing.
fake hearing aid. Like, I'm sorry, you gotta talk into this. In reality, it's like a roll of like Smarties or something. Like, yeah, give me a second.
It's clearly just
No.
this is just candy, right?
That's why I think we all just got the same text message, or I got the same text message of what I was reading, is there are rumors out there, and now we're a rumor-based podcast. There's rumors out there that Phil Martelli is going to Michigan.
No.
Yeah.
Is the head coach?
No. Juwan Howard's the head coach there.
Oh, right.
That's the assistant coach.
Interesting.
Somebody put that on our boards. I'm actually seeing it on Twitter too. Nobody really reputable has put it out there yet, but some like fringe people. It would be like if we put out there like, I don't know, Jim Boeheim is coming to be associate coach at Temple, and then like somebody in New York was like, who the hell is Al Scoop? Like putting that out there. It's that level of like sources are out there. There was like an NBC Boston reporter out there, and they're all saying Phil Martelli is going to Michigan.
I would think that Brendan Quinn would be all over that. Brendan covers Michigan and Michigan State for The Athletic, and is a St. Joe's grad.
Hasn't been out there yet.
So if it's not out there under Brendan Quinn, then I don't trust it.
Oh yeah, that's why I'm saying we're rumor based now.
Yeah. Next question comes from our good buddy and occasional AlScoop.com contributor Varun Kumar. Best pizza at the Shore.
Oh, I'm not gonna be a good answer for this.
I'll answer first. I like Tony's Baltimore Grill in Atlantic City. I think that's really good. The pizza's really good. And spaghetti meatballs are really good. Yeah, that's my go-to spot.
What about any? I was thinking about this when Varun sent in the question. I mean, well, it's not even called Mac and Mancos anymore, is it?
It's Max.
Just Max. It's good. I hate to be sacrilegious. I don't get as into it as anybody else does.
Not. You don't go to Mac and Mancos for like quality. You go to Max and Mancos or Max now or whatever just because like, oh, it's this huge ass pizza and I can try to eat this in however much time. Like,
what am I missing?
It's it's fine.
Because I'm even thinking like when I go down to the Shore, I'm not as focused on pizza. It's like trying to get like good seafood stuff. What about
Phillips?
What about Phillips? I found this out of the way place called Phillips. What about like Margate, Ventnor, like anything around there? Or is it any good pizza down there or no? Or is it just more you're still going to Atlantic City?
I don't know of any places really. Nothing above average, I would say.
The point of Margate is that you're like close enough to AC to go into AC without having to live in AC and deal with the crappy beaches.
Right.
So like if I'm at Margate and I'm going to eat somewhere, I'm probably going into like the city.
Yeah.
There's a couple
unless we go to the
places
Dairy Barn.
Yeah.
Going to the ice cream. Ice cream's there.
Yeah.
More like I know of more better Italian restaurants down there, like Mildred's and
Market,
Strathmere, Anthony's. Where we had a rehearsal dinner in Atlantic City was good. I don't know if they have pizza there, but I don't know. I don't know of too many. I'm sure they're out there. I just haven't eaten a ton of pizza down there. Varun stumped us on this one. Threw us a 12-6 curve. Next question. This one coming from Twitter from @Mr. Stowe. What's with the summer camps being jammed into a 9-day span? He's talking about Rod Carey's football camps.
We'd have to ask Rod Carey himself to get the honest answer.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that's like it's definitely different. I don't think it's completely out of nowhere. It's not like they took it like normally it's over the course of 3 months. Like Jeff Collins did his over the course of 3 weeks, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that just kind of crammed in. The one thing I think I'll give them credit for this is by having things during the middle of the week, you kind of open yourself up. You're not competing against other camps a lot. Like every school in the world wants to have a June 15th. Like then you're competing with Rutgers, you're competing with Penn State and all these other schools. Mm-hmm. So by having Friday night camps and some weekday camps, maybe they'll get some kids on campus that normally they wouldn't have gotten.
Yeah, I mean, I think you saw it last year. Jeff did a 7-on-7 tournament. I think that was on a Tuesday afternoon. So, the week, and that had a good turnout. But the Friday Night Lights thing, that's Penn State does it. A bunch of schools in the area do it, and they seem to get good turnouts. So I think it's a good move.
Just look back to the spring practice where Temple had so many recruits. That was a Friday night recruit because you're not competing against normal day obligations in school and stuff like that. You can get kids on campus.
Yeah, I'm sure they looked at the Rutgers camp schedule and kind of tried to plan around that too.
It is bizarre to me that like literally 12 years ago, like single day camps weren't the norm. Like you were still doing like sleepover camps and all this other stuff. And I remember when Al came, that was his big thing. Well, we're gonna get kids on campus for these one day things, and now that's all you see. Like you don't see more than like when's the last time you heard about somebody going to a sleepover camp?
Big Al was ahead of his time.
Yeah,
I remember he sat me down. He was like, "It's like you familiar with what Southwest Airlines did?" I was like,
"Sure, man.
Yeah,
you sit there wherever you want."
They're good at one thing. They had their things. He's like, I'm not going to compete with Penn State. I'm not going to compete with Florida's camp. I'm going to have the best one-day camp in the entire country. And I mean, I guess that's debatable, but I mean, that's how they got the majority of their players and still do. So, I don't know if maybe they're just like, we're not messing with Memorial Day. We are going to crunch this into June. So.
Jeff, like last year, it was bragging about the fact that he had the first camp in the nation. They did it. They did the camp, I think, this past Monday on Memorial Day.
Good for him.
Yeah. Next question from Hootie Hoot. Again, he's on what seems like a 39-week streak of asking questions. God bless him. or her. We don't know who it is, but
look at the
every week.
demographics. It's probably a male.
Yeah.
Considering what Twitter gives me.
Tons of questions. Appreciate it. So Hootie Hoot's question from the message board is: I see a Rivals crystal ball prediction just went in for Lynn Greer to go to Villanova. What the blankety blank 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 blank. For what it's worth, on the other site had a prediction.
We are the only Temple
I
site
don't know of any other site
on the internet.
Especially ones
I did hear about this, though.
Matt came out of the ether. He wasn't on the site or anything.
Yeah. For what it's worth, the other site had a prediction for Temple. I don't know how I feel about another TU star son going there. Your thoughts? I would not put a whole lot of thought into that. I don't. I think we talked about this last week. I'm not sure there's much going on either end in terms of Lynn heading to Temple. I don't know that Villanova's a likely destination for him. He may not even be playing at Roman this year.
Mm-hmm.
I would not put.
He's down in D.C. playing AAU.
Yeah, for Team Takeover, right? So I don't know that Villanova or Temple's a likely destination. Either one of them's a likely destination for Lynn's kid.
Yeah, I think these predictions are pretty premature. I think you got to watch to see what happens in June and July over these next couple months, because he's got to prove himself, I think, to some of these schools. You look at his offer list, and that's one thing, and
especially if he's
4-star kid, but
if he's leaving Roman again, then
mm-hmm. Yeah. So I don't think the Villanova predictions are premature. I think predicting him to Temple would be very premature. I don't think the kid knows where he's going yet, honestly.
Mm-hmm. A few more here. We have one that just came in from Pat Egan. We'll ask his last. Jamal Doman at Jamal Doman on Twitter. Seems like a very nice guy. Thanked us for asking his question.
Took a shot at
last week. What's that?
Took a shot at Ari during the time.
Yeah. This one was not intended for Ari.
That was not intended for Ari.
Jamal seems like a great guy. Appreciate him listening. What Temple football players do you feel may have a breakout season this year?
That's a good question.
Very good.
I like
question.
that. Do we have answers? I'll give you one on both sides.
We mentioned his name. One guy I'm thinking of is a guy we mentioned earlier. But go ahead.
Are you thinking Linwood Crump?
Yes, Linwood Crump.
I would say let's do one offense, one defense each. Defense, I'll say Karamo Diabate. I think it's his opportunity to finally slide in the starting spot, maybe live up to that heralded recruiting. And then on offense, I'm gonna put out there Jose Barbon.
Interesting.
Yeah, develops a role for himself as a redshirt freshman. Had the opportunity, made a lot of plays during the spring. See if he can catch the balls.
Matt?
You want to go? Give me a second.
That's just bad.
I'm a little bit stumped.
I'm gonna go Linwood Crump on defense. I just think his name just happened to come up more. Again, I know we definitely put out a lot of like Pro Football Focus stuff. Some people are like, well, I don't know how much to put into those numbers. His numbers in terms of just coverage last year were really good. I mean, there's obviously a need there for somebody to step up as whatever you want to call him, a shutdown corner, just the team's top corner. I mean, I think he's definitely in the mix there. Was always fast, always had the skill and the ability. Matt mentioned him earlier and saying he basically didn't get to play his senior season because he got caught up in when it was Sayreville, right? Mm-hmm. And basically had to shut down their program because of that hazing scandal, and he got bit by that. But
he transferred to Sayreville.
Transferred from Piscataway and then couldn't play. Right?
Yes, he was ineligible to play his senior year.
So, but again, he made good on his ability. I've been told he's extremely nice, extremely coachable. Seems to have the intangibles. I could see him having a very good year. Offensively, I don't know that it's. I mean, because he put up some decent numbers this year. I think Brandon Mack steps forward as your best receiver. I mean, he's got good body control. He's been able to go up and get the ball. I think he'll emerge as Russo's favorite target, but that could end up being Randall Jones too. Obviously Isaiah Wright's still there at the receiver position, but is going to be all over the place. So I guess those will be my two guys, Crump and Brandon Mack.
On defense, I mean, he's already pretty proven. We know he's a good player, but I think he'll take a next step this year. Dan Archibong, I do like him a lot. I think he has NFL potential for sure. I also like the young corners that they have. I think Christian Braswell could help them this year. I think Chauncey Moore could help them this year as well, some of those younger corners, in addition to Linwood Crump, and if Harrison Hand is eligible, and some of the vets that they have coming back. And Randall Jones, I think, is one that, I mean, again, we saw a little bit about what he can do last year as a deep threat, but it's his senior year, so I think he'll take another step up. Definitely would expect him to take a step up this year. And then the two tackles, I think, Adam Klein, Isaac Moore, I think they'll take another step as well.
What is it? I mean, to go back to what you said, Kyle. Obviously, Karamo, very highly recruited guy.
Mm-hmm.
You were at the epicenter of his
It was.
recruitment.
Some would say that I swayed him.
You guys were both at separate times. You were hanging out that recruitment event, and Rule. Weren't you talking to Rule about Karamo?
No, that was Greg Webb.
Okay.
He was talking on the stage and said, "We have one more edition coming," and pointed at me. He's like, "Vendor, you don't even know who it is," and I didn't know who it was at the time, to be honest with you.
And then you had the huge South Carolina following, right?
Yeah, I think that's still probably like 18% of my followers are Gamecocks.
What makes you think? And again, we've seen flashes, and then we've also seen flashes of inconsistency. What makes you think Karamo's ready to break out?
I mean, I've just seen this story too many times where a guy, especially an interior defensive lineman, doesn't necessarily get the necessary snaps that gets his freshman, sophomore, junior year, and then finally has the opportunity to be the guy his senior year. Look at Michael Dogby. He was, up until last year, he was a guy that started occasionally, but was mostly a rotational player, finally gets an opportunity, becomes an NFL draftee. I've just seen Cromwell physically has the ability to kind of line up next to Dan Archibong and maybe get the opportunity there. I think that for everything Archibong does well, I think they still need to develop a bit of a pass rush from the interior, and that's something that Cromwell might be able to provide because he's got some big shoes to fill, but it's kind of a gut instinct.
Also, another one mentioned in the pass rush, I think Dana Levine.
Sure.
In addition to Quincy Roche, obviously, you know what he can do, but Dana Levine was hurt for a good chunk of last season. I think as a senior this year, I think he'll have a breakout year. I think you could see him get 6, 7, 8 sacks this year.
And that would be huge for them because I think the edge to pass rushing is also still a concern for them. They had Quincy Roche, but outside of him, is Dan Levine going to do it? Does Zach Mesday have to keep filling that type of role?
And it'll also
does Nick Midori finally get healthy and play?
Yeah, and it'll be interesting just to see again how these guys respond to a new staff, a new position coach. Or is there a guy that really pops that just really responds well to Jeff Knowles and in particular Walter Stewart? So again, new staff, not a completely brand new system, but it seems like these guys want to play downhill a lot. It's still football. So great question there from Jamal. A couple more here. This second to last one from Esther Boyer. Saw that there is a throwback uniform this year. Any plans to bring more variety to the jerseys and on-court branding this year? Somebody did post a picture on our message boards of basically that 80s retro Temple basketball jersey that appears to be something that they're going to wear this year. So any more plans to bring back more variety jerseys? I will say that I think Aaron McKie and Rod Carey are probably not of the Jeff Collins ilk where they want to do new uniforms all the time. I think they are a lot more like, hey, let's get out.
Different combination every week.
The best uniform known to man, and that is a fact. Anyway.
I actually like some of the uniforms.
Uni swag combo of the week.
That, not to completely devolve, but how BS was that they literally would advertise that we're the only university that make uni swags top 10 of the week every week. When that stuff is just feeling like, who is emailing uni swag to be like,
that's the stuff that
please put us at
Jeff
number
did
6.
where I would just roll my eyes and be like, because then that would get, I don't know if he ever went that far, but again, his weekly press conferences, you could literally just, I hate to say, you could almost, I don't want to say zone out, but for the first 8 to 12 minutes of his weekly Tuesday press conferences, there were times where I actually felt like I was in a class again. He'd make eye contact and I'd be like, oh crap, I gotta pay attention.
Come up to the chalkboard and draw the uniform from last week.
Draw this stick figure.
There's a lightning bolt here or something.
Who was the Apex Predator of the week?
I don't know.
Probably Juice Boy of the week.
Yeah, like Jim Brown. No. Are you awake? No. Anyway, I have been told that there are plans. They probably will for basketball. They might wear that retro uniform a few times during the year, which would be pretty cool. I have been told also that they could be working with Under Armour to wear a retro uniform when they play Tulane this year, so that's something to keep an eye out for. So good question there. Last question of the podcast, last mailbag question, does come from our friend Pat Egan, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Before we even get to that, C. Coyer put one on the boards. Chris Coyer said, this kind of goes back to last one. He said, seriously, where do you guys like to go when you spend time at the shore? I'm a Margate guy. I like Margate just because
You
that's
talking
what
restaurants or just the shore?
I
period?
think he just it's just short points.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say I grew up a Margate guy. I continue to go to Margate. My wife's family is definitely like big Long Beach Island people, so we've been there a couple times, but more of a South Jersey guy.
Yeah, I've always been loyal to Ventnor, Margate. My grandpa lived in Margate, Atlantic City his whole life. My dad grew up in Margate, went to Atlantic City High, so my family's had a house in Ventnor since pretty much I was born. So we've always gone to Ventnor. I love Ventnor, being right next to Atlantic City or close to Ocean City, in the middle of all the action, pretty much.
We grew up renting in Ocean City. Have a lot of happy memories there. Met my wife, and I'd heard about Brigantine, never been there, couldn't even tell you how to get there. And then I started going to Brigantine, really liked it. We ended up getting married down there, and then my wife absolutely loves Cape May. But anytime I've been to Ventnor or Margate, I've been like, this is really cool. So I like bouncing around to other like different places, and like I said, mentioning like just seeing some of those restaurants like Mildred's and Strathmere. I think we went there the day after we got engaged, and going to Anthony's in Atlantic City is fun, but I guess I've spent the majority of my time in Ocean City, and then just going down to even like just day trips to Cape May. But if everything goes okay, we'll get back to Ocean City at the end of July, I think, for a week with my parents. But
We'll say the Jersey Shore is so much nicer on a non-holiday weekend.
Oh,
like
for sure.
Beyond any weekend besides
Yeah.
Memorial Day, July 4th, Labor Day, it's great. But those weekends, honestly, I could do without it.
yeah, the thought of I'll shout out our buddy Andrew Albert, got married this past weekend, went to his wedding on Sunday, but we were talking about the thought of being at the shore on Memorial Day just exhausts me. I think it exhausted me even when I was younger.
I was there, and I left at like 1:30 in the afternoon on Monday. Didn't even really spend any time at the beach just because I didn't want to deal with the traffic on the way
How
home.
was it coming back?
It was fine. I flew home because everybody was at the beach. It was a nice day.
Yeah. So this question from Pat, the question he just texted me. I guess I'll go with this. What's the biggest challenge What's the biggest change you've seen so far under Aaron as opposed to Fran, good or bad?
I think you would go good. I mean, I think the biggest change is the lifeblood of college basketball. I think recruiting has just had an uptick. And is that directly related to, is that a coincidence, or the fact that now you have Aaron McKie as your head coach? I would think it's probably not a coincidence. I think he's done a good job. I think Graham might have phrased it this way during the interview, of upgrading the talent on the roster in less than 10 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think you've seen him. It's limited in how much he's able to do right now working with the guys, because the NCAA has their limits on how much you can work with the team during the summer, and they get a little bit extra time since they have that Bahamas trip coming up in August. They get a little bit extra practice hours. But I think one of the biggest things, I mentioned this before, interesting that they have mandatory time in the gym where it's not, no assistant coaches are in the gym. It's just two players. They partner up the guys. And, whether they're morning session or late night session or midday, they want the guys to get in the gym and just get up shots. That's been the big thing with him. So, I think you mentioned it in the interview. You could hear maybe the ball bouncing in the background of the interview with Aaron.
Could have been Nate. Could have been somebody else.
But I mean, that's the biggest thing. They have that practice facility. They haven't always had it. Only 6-7 years ago, they were practicing in the back of McGonigal for a while.
Or on the actual Leocore Center court.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and you couldn't walk in there at 1 o'clock in the morning and swipe your card and go shoot around.
Yeah.
Now the guys can do that at 2 o'clock in the morning if they want. So I think he wants them to take advantage of that. And I don't know if they've always done that as much. I think it's faded since that practice facility first came.
Yeah, I think of two things, and we've mentioned them before. The first thing is, again, the fact that your head coach now, when he goes out on the recruiting trail, you're hearing the kids say now, I want to get to the NBA. Aaron McKie knows what the NBA looks like. He was there for 13 years. He can help me get there. But, you just weren't getting that. It is what it is. You just weren't getting that under your previous head coach. And again, people used to say, like, well, how much is Aaron going to make a difference? He's on the staff now. It's different. I think we're seeing now when he is the CEO. He's the head of the thing. So that's been one thing. You're just seeing them. And Aaron just said today, he's like, hey, we'll see. He's like, we got to close some doors on these guys. We got to close on some guys. Are they going to sign with us? Are they going to go dark at the end of it? But they are getting their foot in the door with better guys. And again, they can sell the NBA. The other thing, and I keep mentioning this, and it's probably going to sound cheesy to a lot of people, I think it's good that they keep talking about their culture and their values. They just didn't really talk about that a lot over the past several years. And I think that's I think that's big. I think that worked. It was a different sport. He had to do it. Al Golden was big on that. Matt Rule was big on that. And I asked Aaron about that again today, and he was like, if I want our guys to be able to walk around campus and someone says, what are you guys about? And here I am, I'm going to be quizzed on it. He's like, we're about toughness, we're about accountability, we're about repetition, just stuff like that. Like, they weren't, if it was part of what they were doing before, they didn't really talk about it. They didn't really verbalize it. Like, I think that stuff's big. You know, again, the wins have to be coupled along with it, but that worked for Villanova. Was we played Villanova basketball, and people, again, would roll their eyes. Temple starts winning, they start making some runs in the tournament. You can say, well, that's Temple's brand of basketball. I mean, that stuff sticks after a while. So I think those are the two biggest changes that I've seen so far. So appreciate all the mailbag questions. Kyle is probably elated right now.
Are we done?
I don't have any more messages.
Back up the truck, boys.
Pat's question?
That was Pat's
Okay.
question.
Oh, Pat didn't have an off the
Wow, I
cuff
was
one?
expecting something wild.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean,
This
I don't know
point.
if I follow up text him here. And
No,
say-
no, it's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
All right, what's everyone doing this summer? You're going to Italy. We know about that. What's Matt doing this summer?
I don't have anything big planned. I'll be in Philly for most of the summer, probably some beach trips, but yeah, nothing major.
Yep, same. I got nothing major. I'm going to St. Thomas for a little bit, but
That's cool.
yeah, it's fine. Other than that, staying
What's
local.
what's your biggest piece of advice to me for going to Italy?
Hydrate. It's hot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also went later in the summer. The food's good, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Drink a lot of wine. Walk around a lot. We'll be fine. See the Pope. Tell him sup.
See the Pope.
Cover up your shoulders for we don't need you.
You said they really
Oh yeah, they'll
that.
force that. Yeah, women can't be showing exposed shoulders. I don't know if men can. I don't know if you showed up like rocking a tank top. If they'd be like, yeah, come on in, man. Like,
I do not own a tank top, so.
and it's Europe, so people are inevitably going to try to like scam you out of things. Just keep your head on a swivel out there.
Yeah. Anyway, so thank you guys for listening throughout the year. We'll see if we take this summer break. Maybe
We're
be back.
taking the summer break. We might talk to you in July or August.
Yeah.
There's definitely
So-
not a podcast next week or
Yeah.
for the next couple weeks.
Yeah.
I think we'll talk to you guys by July.
Yeah.
Say post July 4th. Let's say that.
No, on July 4th. Independence Day podcast.
July 4th is Thursday this week. So
Yeah.
I hope this mic can handle a little bit of sand.
What a great line.
I
That's
think that's
like
a great
something out of
note.
an 80s movie. I hope this mic can handle a little bit of sand.
If we're doing anything on July 4th, yeah.
Yeah, no, we will not
As
be,
I was just complaining about holiday weekends.
Yeah.
How bad they are.
we'll be down there on July 4th. So,
I'm going to St. Thomas till after that. On July 6th, I go to St.
Yeah.
Thomas.
But obviously, again, we are not going on a break in terms of covering stuff. We will have recruiting coverage for you, football and basketball coverage. But hopefully, again, in terms of this podcast, we will talk to you at some point later on in the summer. Hope you guys are having, for those of you who are in college, hope you're enjoying your summer breaks. Hope you guys have a wonderful summer. And again, we'll talk to you soon.
It's not you, it's me.